if you're an entry-level job and if you want people who are starting out and you're paying them minimum wage, why do you want so much experience? Hey guys, I'm Mifra and I hope you all are doing well. So how many of you have heard about this meme that has been going around Facebook and LinkedIn for a long period of time, and that is you need experience to get a job, but you need a job to get experience? I mean, how frustrating is that? I mean, I'm sure you have seen a bunch of these job postings for entry-level jobs and you have opened the requirements and it says you need 2 to 3 years of experience to even apply. And trust me, I've been there and it is the most frustrating thing in the world. So if you're interested to learn about how I got my first job in Canada after I landed from Bangladesh, then please keep watching, and I hope some of this can help you out in your journey and can provide some value to you. I started my university journey in 2016 when I was 17 years old, and I would turn 18 in a couple of months. The reason why I say this is because when I started out, it was very daunting to be away from Bangladesh for a very long period of time. And I was open to embracing this new experience and being outside of my comfort zone to embrace everything that university life came with. So on my first day of university, we have this thing called Imagine Day. And at Imagine Day, there are like hundreds and hundreds of clubs at UBC. Basically in main mall, they have tents set up on either side of the main mall where our classes take place. And you can go up to each of these stalls and ask members of these clubs what they're up to and how you can join these clubs. So it's a very interesting experience, and there are like a wide variety of clubs that UBC provides, and these clubs are ran by students. The whole point of that is that if you don't have any experience when you're joining university, it is a great idea to join a club, because that is the first thing you can put on your resume, and you get to also make connections in the process because you are with like-minded people. Unfortunately, in my 5 years of university, I did not join a club, minus the BSA, which is the Bangladesh Students Association, and that was mainly for the food. I'm just kidding. I met a lot of amazing people through BSA as well. My thought process was that I wanted to juggle school life and a social life, and joining a club would probably not let me balance these things out in the best way possible, and I wouldn't be as happy as I could be. And maybe that's an excuse I told myself, but that's what I felt at that time, that I wouldn't be able to balance my life at that time. But ironically, the next term, which was my second term of my first year, I wanted to do a part-time job. Now you must be wondering that if I was not willing to do a club because I wouldn't be able to manage time, why was I willing to be joining a part-time job while juggling my social life and classes and everything that comes with university? And the reason is because part-time jobs give you money, and I was willing to be able to put some time in, probably the same amount of time and energy that clubs take, in doing professional work where I would be getting paid, so that I could like start my professional journey in Canada. So when I was starting out and I started looking at all these job postings, I realized that each and every single entry-level job posting wanted 2 to 3 years of experience. And that never made sense to me. That if you're an entry-level job and if you want people who are starting out and you're paying them minimum wage, why do you want so much experience? So trying to figure out like how I would be going about making my resume where I don't have any experience to get a job which requires some level of experience. So here's what I did. In Dhaka, if you're from Dhaka, you know that it is very difficult to go out there to get a professional part-time job, but it is relatively easier to do volunteer work. And I know of a lot of people, actually most people I know in Dhaka, all my friends from my middle school, high school, they have done a lot of volunteer work, but it's very rare that anybody I know would have done professional work where they got paid or worked for a company and got experience like that. So in Dhaka, when I was in high school for 3 years, from grade 10 to 12, I ran a club called Steps to a Sustainable Future. And in that club, I was in charge of figuring out ways in which we could find out creative solutions to environmental problems in the community to encourage more people to be sustainable. And through that club, I ran various events. We had fundraisers, we had seminars, and we created videos, etc. So it was a good experience to have. And I thought the best way to go about finding my first entry-level job was to be able to sell my volunteer experience in Dhaka, Bangladesh. So my biggest tip is when you are looking for entry-level jobs in Canada and you don't have any professional experience, make a list of everything you did in high school, and even if it includes, say, fundraisers, sporting teams you played in, plays you took part in, Ramadan, like charity, like food drives, any and everything is helpful and useful in this scenario. And look at all the key words that these entry-level jobs use. Some examples are, say, communication, teamwork, time management. And the goal here is you have to be able to sell yourself with the least bit of experience that you have. Just mainly being able to find ways in which you can stand out with what you did. If you have put time and effort into something you did in high school, you must have learned something meaningful out of it, and you have to be able to objectively identify those skills and be able to sell that to get your first entry-level job. This is what I did. When there was jobs related to communication, teamwork, leadership, I tried to connect that with what I have done in my volunteer work with STEPS, and how I had to communicate with the students to reach our goals, how we work together to run these big events, how we fundraise and talk to, say, investors to raise money. And all these things were extremely helpful in landing my first job. The second tip, which I think is extremely important, is to look at what resources your university provides to help students out. So UBC, for example, has a careers website, which is for UBC jobs. And it is super helpful to be using that service, because you are competing with students at UBC mainly in comparison to competing with students all over the city when you apply for a job, say, like outside of the UBC network. The best thing to do is to use these unfair advantages in your favor, so you're more likely to be called for an interview because you're applying from the university itself. So that's exactly what I did. I went to the careers website and I applied to various jobs, and I landed my first part-time job in the UBC Alumni Engagement Center. And the role was to call alumni and ask for the donations for various initiatives that were taking place at UBC and to help the betterment of these initiatives. So even though I did this job for a fairly short period of time before my final exams would start that term, I strongly believe that even those couple of months of experience had definitely helped me gain confidence in the professional work sphere of Canada, and obviously helped me get my future co-op jobs in different realms. So it is very important to get professional experience, say, in Canada if you want future Canadian jobs, regardless of what that job is initially. You have to get that experience done so future employers can trust you and are more likely to be calling you for interviews. So if you're someone just starting out at university and you want to get a job right away off the bat, then definitely do these things, and I can guarantee you it will put you a step ahead of the game. And yeah, I hope this was helpful, and if you have any more questions, then please leave a comment below and I'll be happy to get back to you. One more thing, so after making my last video, I had a lot of people reach out to me and ask me about specific ways they could amp up their skill sets and get jobs in Canada, and I loved helping you guys out. So if you have any more questions, definitely reach out to me on my LinkedIn and I'd be happy to have a chat.